Alright guys, so today I want to focus on the second DLC for Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, and originally I wasn't going to make a video on this, but I felt like playing Kakarot recently, and I decided to go ahead and get into it. So, what I want to talk about first, before we can get into the DLC, is apparently at some point they added a card game within the game. And this makes absolutely no sense to me, and not the card game itself, because it's really fun. I like it a lot. I wish you could download this like Gwent or something and play it on its own, because I would do that for 50 gigs. I'm not keeping this game installed just to play a card game. But one, it is clearly pay to win. As you just saw, you can buy packs, real money, and just, obviously obliterate people. So that's problem number one. But problem number two is the mechanics of the card game. And so if you've never played a card game before, like one of these types of card games obviously, then this might be a bit confusing to you. But if you've played literally anything, Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh, Gwent, Pokemon, literally anything, this concept I think will come fairly easy to you and you'll try to understand my problem. So the way this works is you, again, like a lot of other card games, you put your cards down and you play whatever you want to play, and you can attack each other's cards, and then you have an individual health, an individual life force, whatever you want to call it, right? Except in most games, how this works is you have to destroy all of the enemies' units, monsters, whatever they're called, and then either the extra damage or you get to attack their life force individually does damage to their life force, but only once you've destroyed all of their units, monsters, whatever. In this game, you can just directly attack their life force. It doesn't matter if they have 14 monsters down and you have one. You can just directly attack their life force. And so I'm thinking, I must not understand, because why would you ever attack their monsters? And whoever goes first is going to win. Just attack their life force over and over again. There's no point to attack their units, right? And so I played against the AI a couple times, played against people a couple times, just to make sure I wasn't insane. And that's how you win. You just attack their life force over and over again and you win. So I don't know if I just don't understand, but this card game makes no sense to me. And I wish it did, because it's really cool and I would like to play it more. So on to the actual DLC, right? The game picks up where the first DLC left off. I'm fairly certain the first DLC is required to play this one, as they are bundled together in the Microsoft Store and you literally cannot buy them individually. So that being said, you've played through the first one, you level up your characters to 250, you start out here, you almost, I want to say, immediately unlock Super Saiyan Blue. You have to just do, I think, a training or two, and you unlock it immediately. You then cut back to Earth, and you have these Horde battles unlocked where you play as Gohan and Piccolo. And so these Horde battles are a new mechanic. And so essentially they're just open world activities, at least 2 of them that you do, and then the rest are missions, like in the first DLC, the training, that you can just do as extra things to level up. And so in the tutorial for this mode, they kind of try to lie to you in a sense where they make you think you're going to be fighting 100 or 250 or 500, whatever your target goal is, people at the same time. And that's not really how it works. As you can see here, I've killed 49 out of 100. At all times, there's only 10 enemies on screen. As you can see, now I'm at 51. I'll beat another one, it'll be at 52, and it's just replacing that one enemy with a new one. You can't, if there was an attack that could hit the whole battle area at once, you couldn't kill all 100 enemies at once. It's only giving you 10 at a time. That being said, this got repetitive insanely quickly. I did it 5 times, I think, and by the end I was relatively bored. And so, something that's a bit of a warning, I'm sure you've probably already played this DLC at this point, but you will need to level up all of your characters, or at least I did a fair amount, not Goku and Vegeta, but everybody else, mainly Piccolo and Gohan. Now that being said, I said earlier in the video that I had a craving for Kakarot, so I decided to play it and go and pick up this DLC. And so I got a little bit more than my cravings worth of Kakarot, because my file ended up getting corrupted, so I had to play the entire main game over again, and the first DLC, just to get to the second DLC. So I'm hoping that didn't, ruin my perception of the second DLC too much, because it is quite a grind trying to run through the entire story. Luckily, you can play the first DLC first, level up your characters, and then just fly through the story one hitting everybody, which is what I did. But let's talk about the actual DLC. And so you get introduced to those horde battles. Like I said, you unlock Blue in this new form of training, and one of the first things they tell you when you access the second DLC is that the level cap has been raised to 300. And so that's great, but along with that, there's no new XP level up potion thing. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, essentially they have these potions, or whatever you want to call them, that give you XP levels that you get from doing training with Whis, right? And so as you level up, it's 1,000,000 XP for this level, 2,000,000 for this, 4, 8, and it keeps going up more and more the more you level up. And so you have to get better potions. And so with these new 50 levels they give you, they don't give you any new type of potion that gives you more XP than the last. So you're stuck using these okay potions that give you a decent amount of XP, but it would have been nice to get some kind of new upgrade ability to level up through those levels faster. Now, probably the most important part of the DLC, and why you probably bought it if you did, is how is Blue, right? Does Super Saiyan Blue play well? And so this is another one of my problems with this DLC, right? When the first DLC came out and you unlocked Super Saiyan God, you got obviously the Super Saiyan God transformation, and then a couple of passive upgrades, like your transformation lasts longer and does more damage, and your surge refills quicker and lasts longer, stuff like that. But it also came with a new ability, right? I think it's God Kamehameha for Goku and God Flash for Vegeta. They each got a new ability, along with new animations just when fighting in that form. And while Blue does give you new animations and quicker animations, just like every new form does throughout the entire game while you're fighting, there's no new move. There's no Super Saiyan Blue Kamehameha or Super Saiyan Blue Big Bang Attack or anything like that, right? So you're left with the same move sets and the same skills that you had before, just with different colored hair, essentially, and you're moving a bit faster. So that was kind of disappointing, in my opinion, and I felt that this DLC was significantly shorter than the first one, because you end the game around level 100 in the main game, and then do the first DLC, you go all the way up to 250. That's a whole 150 levels. Right, like I said earlier, the max level in this new DLC is 300. And so that's a 50 level difference. But what they don't tell you, and what I'm assuming they're thinking you're going to assume, because that's what happened to me, is that the Frieza fight, if you don't know what this DLC is about, or you haven't watched Super or something, you fight Frieza in it, spoilers, you assume that the Frieza fight is going to be a level 300, because that would make sense, because that's the new level they introduced. It's the same thing for the first DLC. They brought it up to 250, the Beerus fight is level 250, it just makes sense. So, following that logic, the last thing you would expect from them raising the max level would be for the new fight, the new big boss fight, in this new area, with this new level, to be below the previous DLC's level, right? So I spent at least 2 days, again, remember, I had to play through the entire game just to play this DLC, so I spent, I want to say 5 days just grinding through the entire game, and 2 of them were literally just leveling up Goku and Vegeta from 250 or whatever I ended the campaign at, 100, up to 300, right? And I didn't even get there with Vegeta. I'm pretty sure I didn't even get there with Goku. I got close, because I realized, you know what, it'll be hard, it'll be a challenging fight, a level 250 versus a 300, I'll try it, alright? Well, Frieza's not a level 300. Frieza's only level 170. So I have no clue why they would introduce a new difficulty level, a new character level to the game, and then not use it in the boss. That doesn't make any sense to me. This was my biggest problem. The fight's cool, right? It's a good fight. Frieza's moves are cool. It's kind of repetitive, and you're insanely overpowered because you think it's going to be a level 300 fight, but it's a cool fight regardless. But I don't understand, why is this not a level 300 fight? And if you know how this works, essentially you fight Frieza as Goku, Vegeta, and then Goku again. Alright, and Frieza levels up a couple of levels between the 3 fights, but I still nowhere close to 300, right? If you're anywhere over 200, you'll absolutely smack him. So here's my overall problem with this DLC, right? If you go into it, right, not leveling up to max level, because now you know you don't need to, you only need to be 160, which if you've played the first DLC, you definitely are, right? So you don't need to level up, which is what I spent probably 10 hours plus doing, right? You don't need to hit max level, you don't need to do all this other potions and getting food buffs and all this stuff, preparing for the fight. It's a relatively easy fight. That leaves you with mandatory objectives of 2 horde battles, which depending on your Gohan and Piccolo level can take 10 to 2 minutes, and 3 Frieza fights, and where if you are assuming that they're going to be level 300, like I did, you absolutely smack them in under 2 minutes, most likely. And so, really, this DLC, if you're not training and pushing yourself to level 300, like a crazy person for no reason apparently, is probably an hour long, if that, right? The first DLC I spent so much time on because it's a grind, just going for 150 levels, and that max level of 250 is the level that the Beerus fight is, so even once you've reached max level, it's still a very hard fight, right? This is not hard in any way. I understand what they're trying to do, right? Well, Beerus is stronger than Frieza, so I have to be a lower level, but from a gameplay perspective, that doesn't work. It's not interesting, alright? I didn't hate this DLC, right? It's cool that they introduced Blue. Obviously, they're going to do Ultra Instinct next, at least I would hope so, and I'm excited for that, but I definitely want, with increased difficulty levels for your character, give them to the enemies as well. I don't want to go into the Tournament of Power and fight Jiren as, if they increase it to 500, a level 500 Ultra Instinct versus a 250 Jiren. No, whatever their max level is, make the enemy that level, so that the player has to grind out and hit that high level and still have the fight be difficult, right? Part of this game, part of the strengths of it being an RPG, is that you get that Dragon Ball sense of training where you have to just level up and grind to get to the next level so you're strong enough to fight the enemy. When you do DLCs like this, you don't get that, and it ruins the whole way the game was built, in my opinion. You guys let me know what you thought of the DLC, if you didn't play it, if you liked it, if you hated it, and I'll see you guys in the next one.